Oh boy, alright, so the fall anime season is now upon us. It's the final anime season of the year, and usually some of where we see some of the best shows that I personally really like, for the most part. Unfortunately, though, with a couple of episodes down on basically each of these shows, it doesn't quite feel that way, that this is actually like, a huge season, full of shows that I would personally love to rewatch after it finishes. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, I think, with our first show that we're going to be talking about. Basically, this is just basically me doing a lineup and talking about the shows that I am personally going to be watching this anime season. So let's jump on to the first one, which is One Punch Man Season 3. Oh my god, I am so very, very disappointed by One Punch Man Season 3 so far. It is not looking good at all. So One Punch Man Season 1 was absolutely incredible. Season 2 was an incredible stinker and an unfortunate dip in both animation quality and also just interest in the world, the enemies, the characters, and whatever have you. One Punch Man Season 3, on the other hand, it feels incredibly weak, but is by all accounts a continuation of One Punch Man Season 2, where the monsters are now, or the group, they call themselves the Monsters, and of course we have Garo, who is basically like a member that's on trial, I guess. Trial in the sense that he's on a trial period of like, okay, if this guy's actually good, we can bring him to our ranks. If not, just kill the guy. And so characters are doing stuff and there's a lot of talking going on, but it doesn't feel like there's any real direction at the moment as far as how everything is being presented. So I am interested in seeing how things are going to evolve and move forward moving from this point. That being said, though, JC staff really are not, doing themselves any favors, given that they did Season 2 as well, and Season 2 not particularly good, so Season 3 somehow is even worse, and I'm sure everyone's already seen, like, the, scene from Episode 2 where Garo is supposed to have been sliding down the, side, but instead you've got, like, a GIF that's moving slowly, like, oh god. God, that was painful. Oh my god, when I saw that, I was like, hey, it's the thing that people are, oh, right, this is One Punch Man. Yeah, so I really, really do think that this manga deserved a lot better in terms of actual quality. It's just unfortunate it's not getting the thing that it, the actual attention that it deserves, I feel like. Very disappointed so far. Hopefully things actually, turn up heel from here, but who knows. Anyway, enough disappointment from here. Spy Family Season 3. So, Spy Family is still as wholesome as it's always kind of been. We're a few episodes into the season, and of course is a continuation from Season 2. Though I think from, like, again, watching Season 1 and 2, it really does feel like Spy Family is really just more of a episodic format show where each episode just kind of has its own thing going, unless it's a multi-parter like we did have earlier on in the season, where we actually see memories of Lloyd's past and kind of how he became who he is in the spy agency that he currently works for, which I think is incredibly interesting, because we learn a little bit more about him as a character, even though his character is all about hiding who he is. So I do think that we've already got some interesting ripples of character development that I think was kind of interesting. But like I said, we're only a few episodes in. I do really wonder where we're going to go from here moving forward from this point. So yeah, I am interested. Still, like, to me, Spy Family is still a good show, unlike One Punch Man Season 3, which just completely, absolutely cocked itself basically instantly. So I do kind of wonder where everything is going to shake up in the end. But I don't want to give my thoughts away too much until I do my reviews at the end of the season. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see how things unfold for the most part. That being said, My Hero Academia's final season. Now, I know that this season, Season 8, is supposed to be incredibly hype. I am not feeling it. in fact. So My Hero has always been a very interesting show to me, where it's been incredibly inconsistent in both its tone and quality to some extent. When it tries to be more lighthearted, the quality feels less, and when they try to do things more serious, the quality, when they try to like do things like, you know, really dark themes, it doesn't land, because its art style doesn't do it any favors. Its presentation, from being kind of, you know, jokey, wacky to now very serious, it doesn't really work. And so for it to try and do an incredibly serious season with its final season, you know, the big final battles are finally happening, and I am not feeling the show at all. I think I was basically checked out since season 2, but I've still been watching each season, and to me, season 2 is still like the best season of the show, and I don't think season 8 is going to change that. But how disappointed I am really depends on how the series is going to end, how the events are going to unfold, because the flashy animation just isn't doing it for me, if I'm being completely honest. I'm not feeling it at all. And honestly, like I said, due to its episodic nature of like keeping a single consistent series of fights going on, and me watching from a weekly basis also doesn't do it any favors either. It really does feel like it's hurting the show watching it on a weekly basis, and it may have just been better to watch everything back to back. But who knows, like, again, you're adapting the source material that already exists, so I assume that the source material is also equally as how would I say this, underwhelming from what I'm seeing so far, but I could be completely wrong about this. So I hope I'm pleasantly surprised, but we won't know until, you know, everything is basically done and dusted, because it feels like, especially when it comes to quirks and abilities, there is a lot of fluff that is added on, a lot of, you know, bullcrap that just feels like it shouldn't really make that big of a difference, but they added it just for the sake of adding something more in. I don't know, it really does feel very difficult to kind of go into too much detail without going into spoilers. But even then, even if I were to say something, it doesn't feel like it's a spoiler, because it just feels kind of ridiculous. But all I can say with absolute certainty is that I'm just not feeling My Hero Academia final season at all. That being said, though, a show that I kind of wasn't feeling but am now feeling is Ranma Half 2024 second season. So second season of the 2024 remake of Ranma Half. Ranma Half I thought was incredibly good adaptation of the source material. It very much felt like it was a anime from the 1980s, which is what it was, from like 1982 or something like that. So Ranma Half 2024 I was incredibly happy with, and how it was presented, how it was done, and everything else in between. The second season started off, and it felt a little bit weak because of the whole shampoo ordeal that Ranma had to go through. And this whole shampoo ordeal is not the end of the world. Again, it would just made the series feel a little bit less of them. But now that that's been resolved, hopefully, you know, the show will start to begin to flourish like it did during season 1. That's what I'm hoping for. But so far it's been fine, is what I would say. A little disappointing, but hopefully, you know, it's only going to get better from here. More wacky, more interesting, more surprising, and not, you know, holding down like 2 or 3 episodes just for a single thing to happen. You know what I mean? Or to be surrounded by the single individual storyline or sub-story or subplot or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? So we'll just kind of have to see how that goes. And of course, with, you know, Ranma Half being an incredibly wacky series, I, of course, do need to talk about Sannen Z-gumi Ginpachi-sensei. Yeah, so Gintama is back with... But the thing is that it's obviously, you know, Gintama has been adapted, it's done, it's dusted, it's gone. So now we're left with the side project to Gintama, which was, you know, Ginpachi-sensei, which was already an interesting thing that was like tacked onto the end of some episodes of Gintama back in the day. So for it to get its own full anime adaptation is crazy to think about. So for those of you guys that have watched Gintama, and I guess for those of you guys that haven't, basically Sannen Z-gumi Ginpachi-sensei is basically Gintoki, but he is a teacher. All of the many wacky characters throughout the entirety of Gintama, many of them are his students. Some absolutely stupid ones are, like the principal, the vice principal of the school. Some of them are teachers from other schools. Some of them are delinquents from other schools. Like, everyone has a place, but in like the school setting, which I thought was actually kind of interesting to an extent. Is like, how would these absolutely wacky characters from Gintama actually be put into a school setting? And then there's, of course, a lot of fourth wall breaking jokes. There's a lot of, referential humor. And so far, like the first episode I wasn't a fan of, but I think second and third episodes have felt better. But they haven't quite reached what I feel like Gintama is capable of. So I am still kind of, I guess, waiting for things to get really good. I mean, I've had some fun, but I can't say for sure that I've had like, a lot of fun watching the show. That's what I'm hoping for the most. I'm hoping that this show is a lot of fun to watch. It has been some fun, but I can't say that it's been a lot of fun. Moving on from that though, another season, how do I explain this? Okay, Digimon Beatbreak is the next show that I'm going to be talking about. But before I get into much more detail, I think it's worth mentioning that Digimon Ghost Game, which was the previous Digimon series, was incredibly disappointing, and I did not enjoy it much. It was very average. There was lots of things I didn't like, but there were a few things that I did like. It's just unfortunate they didn't lean on the stuff that I thought was actually pretty damn good that they were going for, and instead kind of opted for more of the stuff I didn't like. So that's why I personally didn't enjoy it. Because the thing is that with Ghost Game, they could have gone down the path of like, okay, rather than being like, rogue holograms, how do they lean in on like horror culture? Could they lean more into the horror side of things? Like you've got Digimon that look like mummies, that look like ghosts, that look like zombies. Lean in more on them. Make more designs of like really creepy Digimon. But they do need to remain somewhat relatively kid friendly, and that's kind of like where the ends kind of tear itself apart. And that's what I mean by like, I like the scary aspects that they were going for, but unfortunately due to them being needingly to be kid friendly, it didn't really help matters. So Digimon Beatbreak goes down a completely different path and instead focuses on AI. Basically, everyone has a small egg called a sapotama, and this sapotama feeds off of the person's e-pulse. So a person who touches their sapotama feeds it with their e-pulse, and then that e-pulse, it allows the Sapotama to keep going. But of course, if a Sapotama does bug out, it hatches and creates a Digimon, which is how the main character here got his own Digimon, because every time he touches a Sapotama, it causes it to go berserk, bugs out, glitches, and causes other people's Sapotama to go absolutely insane as well. But keeping in mind that Sapotama runs off of AI, and that AI is basically like controlling humanity to be like, hey, you gained 2 kgs this week, you might want to eat more vegetables to lose some weight, you might want to go for a run, you might want to do this, you might want to do that. It's all just being suggested by AI at this point. That being said though, obviously the main character's Sapotama hatches into a Gekkomon, and then Gekkomon basically just leashes off of the main character's e-pulse in order to make himself, have the energy to basically fight. And the main character is now dragged into like this whole situation of like this other stuff going on regarding his older brother, and being part of this group called the Golden Dawn, and a bunch of other things are going on. So far, like, I think I've spent too much time kind of trying to explain the premise, that I'm kind of like, okay, you've got me with the premise. What you're doing feels a little bit interesting, and the idea of Beatbreak being the fact that the main character basically stops listening to AI because he wants to live life to the beat of his own drum to some extent, if that makes sense, and refuses to listen to AI. And as a result, he kind of refuses to listen to his Digimon. So there's like some character development happening there where he actually is kind of like, maybe I should listen to, you know, Gekomon and just actually, you know, do some of the stuff that he kind of suggests. So yeah, very interesting series of events so far, and there doesn't feel like it's leaning in on a particular storyline, so at least yet. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see how things kind of ultimately end up. But I do think that the series could go on for quite some time, because keeping in mind that Ghost Game went on for like 51 episodes, so it went on for like a whole year before it actually ended up ending, so there is that element to it as well. So yeah, this could go any which way. Finally, it's worth mentioning, One Piece, still watching that week to week, and I just can't believe how disappointing One Piece is when you're watching it from week to week basis, because it really does no one any favors to watch One Piece in this manner or way. I mean, I'm hoping for more, but who the hell knows. Again, we're in the middle of like an incredibly interesting arc, but it feels like it's being drawn out, and it feels so incredibly slow. I just really don't know what to make of this whole thing. But anyway, I feel like One Piece is going to be way too hard to review in a bubble, and I feel like more arcs are going to be disappointing rather than positive. So it really does kind of make me wonder how things are ultimately going to shake up. But Egghead Island arc, still very much going strong. It is what it is. Enough said, I guess. So yeah, basically that's what I'm watching this season. I feel like I went into a lot more detail than I normally would, but it's just to kind of get some ideas out there on like how I'm feeling about the show, how things are going at the moment, and just kind of a very, very rough idea of where we're at with some of these franchises. But let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments below, especially letting me know if you're watching any of these shows and whether you agree or disagree with me on some of the stuff that I mentioned. But with all that being said though, like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 500 subs by end of the year, and with all that being said, I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.